converting square units and cubic units. Okay? Do your best. Work through number one with your partner, and then we'll go through it here in a minute. Just come up with some strategies that you think might be helpful. Well, let's see how we're doing on them. Okay, one strategy you're going to see this year, I'll go through it quite a few times, just in different lessons, however. You'll see it on some of the practice tests that we do, practice assessments we do, and every once in a while in some of our assignments. Anytime you're dealing with different units, notice here we're going from square yards for a 12. This little symbol means what?
Feet.
That means feet, yeah. One little mark means feet. What's two marks mean? Inches, okay? So we have a 12-foot by 15-foot kitchen, but we want to find out how many square yards that is. Okay? So we could figure out how many square feet it is pretty easy. A 12 by 15, if we think about area, that's just 12 times 15. And 12 times 15 gives us a grand total of 180. So the square feet is 180 square feet. Okay? We don't want square feet, however, we want square yards. So if I'm dealing with square yards, I've got to first think about, well, what is a square yard, or what are square yards and square feet? How do they relate? Yeah?
There's 3 yards there's 3 feet in every yard.
Okay, there are 3 feet in every yard. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw or sketch in a square here. So here's my square. This is the way I do these conversions all the time. All right? So I think about a square, and I kind of go with the conversion that that Grace just said there. She said for every 1 yard, there are 3 feet. So I can say, well, this length is 1 yard, which is the same thing as saying it's 3 feet. And this length also is 1 yard, which is the same thing as saying 3 feet. Okay, well, that means for 1 square yard, 1 times 1 square yard, which we write like that, 1 square yard is actually how many square feet? 3 times 3, or 9 square feet. Okay, now we have a conversion. We know that for every 1 square yard you have 9 square feet. You kind of have a visual of it. Now please, a real quick error thing, an error analysis. Some of you, or some students, make a mistake of going 1 square yard like that. That's not right. They're just saying, well, it's 1 square yard. Or 9 square feet. Well, that's 81 feet. That's 1 linear yard. That means 1 yard. A straight line, not a square. Okay? That's not what we want. All right? So don't write your squares like that. That's bad. Okay. How many are with me so far? So if I want to convert 180 square feet to square yards, I now have a conversion. I know in terms of square yards and square feet, I have this conversion. I know that 1 square yard is to 9 square feet as 180 square feet. Now where does that go, on top or bottom? Where are my feet? Top or bottom? They're on bottom, right? So I've got to put my 180 down here. My 180 square feet is to, I'm trying to find how many square yards. This is a proportion. That proportion I can now solve. How do I solve proportions? Most of you have this cool thing you hear about all the time. You cross multiply and divide. Okay? That's one method if you have a proportion. So we have 180 square feet. Now I'm just going to ignore the labels now that I have it set up. I have 180 times 1 and 9 times x. Okay? What's x? X is 20. 20 square yards. What's that?
You could have just divided 12 and 15 by 3 and 10 by each other.
You could have. So what I'm trying to do, there are other ways to do this. and if it works for you and you remember it and you never make a mistake, then you go that method. When I try to teach this, I try to teach a method that will work every time. It's a universal method. Okay? It'll work for any kind of conversion you're doing. Okay? So if you always kind of set up your ratio here, and then you put it into a proportion form, that will work all the time. Dividing each of these by 3, 4, and 5, and then multiplying also would have got you 20. But it's something you have to remember, and it only works for square feet to square yards. Okay? So if I'm going to square inches, or from square inches to square feet, that may not work. Okay? You want to see? I'm trying to go in a universal way, something that will work each time. Okay? All right. I want you guys to try number 2. Work with your partner, or actually do it on your own first, and then see if you match up with your partner there. Some of you that said A, we have some of you that said C. So I'm going to use my same proportion that I had over here. Since I'm going from square yards and I want square feet, I'm just going to use the same ratio here. 1 square yard is equal or over 9 square feet. It's just this time they're giving me how many square yards I want, and we're converting it to square feet. So x times 1 is x, 9 times 17 is 153, and that is square feet. That is letter C. All right. Most of you got it. Well done. Pretty easy, right? Okay. Everyone rate themselves 1 to 5. 5, you got it? 1, you're struggling? Okay, good. So here we go. Number 3, convert 24 square centimeters to square millimeters. Might be helpful to think about what a centimeter and a millimeter are. For those of you that don't know the metric system, I got to tell you, we love metric system. I love the metric system. If there's one thing that I could change in our country, it would be shifting us to the metric system. Well, in terms of math, There's a lot of other things. Okay? Take a look right here, please. Dude, metric measures up. Okay? Each one of these little marks, pay attention, each one of these little marks on a ruler is a millimeter. When I get 10 millimeters, I actually have one what? Centimeter. So 10 millimeters is 1 centimeter. Okay? If you didn't know that. How many knew that? Of course, everyone knew it, especially after I said it. But, all right. I know. I'm not saying you didn't know it. I'm just saying it's pretty convenient that you know it now. Okay. Here we go. Once again, if it's not familiar, draw your square. I'm not going to mark my square every time, but I know that in terms of millimeters, centimeters and millimeters, 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeters. 1 centimeter is equal to 10 millimeters. So if I'm dealing with area, 1 by 1 is 1 square centimeter is equal to 10 times 10, or 100 millimeters. Okay? I have to write it like that. 100 millimeters, square millimeters. So my ratio then is 1 to 100. This is centimeter up here. This is millimeter down here. Okay? So now, I know I have 24. I'm looking for that. X times that times 1 is X. 100 times 24 is 2400. I get 2400 square millimeters. Thank you. How many got 2400? Oh, well done. Okay. Now, some of you will go, I just multiplied it by 100. Okay, well, if that works, it works. Okay. All right, 30 square inches. Once again, my conversion. Stay with me, please. 1 inch is how many feet? or excuse me, 12 inches. 12 inches is 1 foot. 12 inches is to 1 foot. So that means 144 square inches is to 1 square foot. So if I'm comparing again, I can say square inches to square feet. That's 144 to 1 over, and I have my top here is 30 because that's square inches. I'm converting 30 to x, so I get 144 x's equals 30. So x equals 524 square feet.
We were right. It just seems so weird.
It is pretty weird.
That number.
I'll agree.
Just, well, and what I did though, the wrong thing was we put. I guess it doesn't matter if you flip those around, like if you have 1 on top of 144, and then you have x on top of 30, right?
Yeah, I mean, really, when you multiply, you're going to have 144 30ths. Yeah, and it doesn't matter if those are flipped.
Okay.
So here you're going to divide by 144, so 30 144s. Okay, which reduces to 524s.
So we were really trying to figure it out, but it really was.
Okay, now rate yourself 1 to 5. And I really hope, like I see a few of you talking right now, man, I really hope you have this down, because I would not waste my time trying to teach this, or your time, if I didn't think it was important. I wouldn't put in something that's not covered in our textbook. Okay, so those of you really cranking out the notes and you're going to be able to reference this later, dude, that's going to benefit you tons. Those of you not, man, I don't know what to tell you other than, Mommy, wow, you're a big kid now. Hopefully you're figuring it out. Okay, make sure you're taking good notes. All right, we're off to cubic. Here we go. Cubic. Cubic is not 2 dimensions, it's 3 dimensions. So if I'm dealing with centimeters and millimeters, our old friends, I now don't have a square, I have a cube, which is a 3-dimensional square, which makes it just 1-dimensional cooler.
I can't.
Okay?
These, I suck at drawing dimensional stuff.
There we go. So now, rather than having 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter, we have 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter. Okay, and I think I might put this one over here.
I know, I'm just.
Okay? It's 1 by 1 by 1, which if I multiply 1 by 1 by 1, I get 1 cubic centimeter. Okay? 1 times 1 times 1, and then centimeter by centimeter by centimeter. And then I'm going to go millimeters. Well, 1 centimeter is 10 millimeters. 10 millimeters. And 10 millimeters gives me 10 by 10 by 10, or
1,000 millimeters.
1,000 cubic millimeters.
I accidentally put square.
So I know my conversion is 1 to 1,000. So cubic centimeters to cubic millimeters. Now I just write that just so I remember what's going where. So what goes on top on this side of my proportion?
2.
2. And I'm trying to find x. Okay? So x is
2,000 cubic centimeters.
1,000
Millimeters.
cubic millimeters.
Why do you say cubic millimeters instead of millimeters cubed or something? Could you say it that way too?
Yeah.
Instead of cubic.
Any questions? All right.
What?
Let's try the next one.
How do you do that?
Let's try the next one. You know what? I'm sorry. This should be cubic.
Oh, that's why.
Unbelievable.
That's easy.
It's like, what?
All right, that
How
should
are
be
you supposed
cubic.
to do that?
My goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a cubic.
Okay.
All right, give that one a go.
Making a move for action. 7 over 1,720. That's what I got. I got 7 over
7 over 1,000. Can you reduce? Does that reduce? Oh my gosh.
This is the most reduced one that I can get into.
Wow. Well, I mean, I guess it might work because the last one did, so. And it doesn't look like there was anything wrong unless. Yeah, no. I'm pretty sure that's it. I'm confident.
You're confident. Are you now? I'm definitely not confident.
It would just be easier to round the decimal than to put it in that huge fraction.
I'm trying to figure this out.
I don't get how that last one was 5 over 24 because 30 inches.
I'm not
I
gonna
just
get
touched
it.
gum.
Ew. I hate it.
It's hanging down.
Oh, that's gross.
Yeah. Okay, you know what? This is moving my leg. Oh, see, we were right. Yeah.
Okay, how many got it? I just want you to know I purposely made these tough numbers because there are students that don't like using a process. They like to do it in their head. They have their own method, which is fine until life doesn't give you pretty easy numbers, which generally in life you don't get the easy numbers. So you have a format you use, you have a pattern you use, you have a formula you use. Now that's not meant to knock anyone in class. It's meant to just tell you that's reality. Okay, you don't get paid to just work out math problems unless you're me. Okay, and teach you. Okay, most jobs actually make you apply this stuff, which I'm hoping you do really well because, dude, you'll be running the country when I'm old and gray. Man, the longer I teach, the older and grayer I get. Crazy. Yeah. Yeah, and that's an old poster. I mean, I think I got that poster like 12 years ago, 13 years ago, 14 years ago. I mean, that thing's older than you. So when are we ever going to use this? Well, that's changed quite a bit. I should probably change the poster. Okay? Any questions? I hope you have a process to follow now. Okay? That's the goal of that.
It sure isn't drawing out a 3 minute.
Okay? It's a good way to check yourself. Okay.